I am kind of an Appalachian guy, although I'm not from Appalachia or Appalachia. I am from Appalachia, which is the northern branch of those mountains. Jack. But this is the story of a witch who wanted to be a queen. And the only way she knew how to be a queen was to marry a king. So she goes to a king and she says, "Marry me!" He says, "No." So she goes to another king. "Marry me!" He said no. And after she'd been to 100 kings and 100 kings had said no, she started to get angry. And then she got mean. Once there was a mountain, and on the side of that mountain there was a hut, and in that hut lived a woman with her 3 sons. The oldest son's name was Bobby, the second son's name was Billy, and the third son's name was Jack. One day the old woman was sitting in her hut, and she was looking at the stove and thinking how nice it would be to make some scones. When she realized there wasn't enough firewood by the stove to cook those scones, she turns to her oldest son. She said, Bobby, go get some firewood." Bobby said, "No way, Mom. It was snowing last night. It was a blizzard. The snow's up over my head. I'm not going out there." She really wanted to make some scones, so she grabs the boy by the ear, opens the door, and throws him out. Poor Bobby lands in a snowbank. He's over his head. By the time he gets out, he's covered in snow and it's melting. He's cold and he's wet, and he runs right back inside. Sits down by the fire. He won't move. For all the pulling, he just won't go. She says, "What are we going to do about the firewood? I really want to make some scones." And that's when Billy stands up. He says, "Mama, I'll go get you the firewood." And Billy, he puts on his boots, and he puts on his coat, and he puts on his hat, and he heads on out to the forest. But there was a blizzard the night before, and the snow's over his head. So the poor boy, he has to work his way through the snow, stomping it down, plowing his way through. Takes him forever to get to the forest. Finally he does, though. Of course, in the forest, most of the snow's up in the trees, so he can walk around pretty easily. Comes to a place where he's been 100 times before, but this time he is so surprised. For the trees are all gone. And in the middle of the clearing, there's this huge tower, a wooden tower, a watchtower. He'd never seen that before, and he'd been there just recently. Where did that come from? Well, he has to know, so Billy, he works his way around it, and he makes a path all the way around, searching for a door. But he doesn't find one. So he walks around again, following that path. He's looking for a window. He still can't find one. Well, he walks around one more time just to be sure, and way up at the top of the tower, a set of shutters open up, and out pops the head of a little old man with eyes as big as your fist. And the little old man calls out and says, "Hey, you, boy, can you help me? I'm stuck up here in this tower. I can't get out. Got no water. I'm so thirsty. Could you do me a favor? Go up to the spring and get me a jug of water." Bill says, "No way! No, I have to get firewood from my mom." And he turns his back on the man and he starts looking for firewood. And he sees a stick. It's sticking out of the snowbank. He goes over to pick it out when suddenly that stick just pops out of the snowbank all by itself. Billy's a little surprised, but then it starts spinning around. He's even more surprised. And it spins around and whacks him on the side of the head. He's really surprised. He don't like that at all. And the stick starts spinning again, and Billy, he's not going to stick around for that. No, he starts running away. But that stick is spinning after him. Whack, 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 all the way back to the house. He's running so fast, he runs right out of his boots, out of his coat, out of his hat. By the time he gets home, he's so wet and cold. He sits down by the stove next to his brother, and he won't move. His mom says, "What are we going to do about the firewood? I really want to make some scones." When little Jack steps up and says, "Mama, I'll get you the firewood." Now Bobby, he says, No, don't go out there. Don't go out there, Jack. There's a blizzard. You'll never make it. And Billy, he's like, "No, Jack, don't go out there. You'll get beat by sticks." But Jack don't care about his brothers, except what they say. He just puts on his boots, his coat, his hat, and he heads right out. But it had been a blizzard the night before. You think he's gonna make it to the forest pretty easy? Absolutely. His brother already made a path. He just followed that right to the forest, which of course led him right to that same place with that watchtower he'd never seen before. And so Jackie says, oh wow. He walks around and looking for a door, doesn't find one. Walks around a second time looking for the window, no windows. Walks around a third time just to make sure, when up at the top of the tower, shutters open up, out springs the head of that little old man with eyes as big as your fist, and he says, hey, you boy, you really are a little boy. Could you help me out? I'm stuck up here in the tower, I'm so thirsty. Could you get me a bucket of water from the spring? Jack looks up, he goes, I don't have a bucket. The man says, there's a bucket at the spring! Jack says, okay. And he turns and he heads off to the spring to get a bucket of water for the old man. Now you think that was easy? No. Billy didn't go up to the spring. Jack had to make his own path. It wasn't easy. And he was just a little kid, so instead of stomping it all down, he makes a tunnel. He makes a tunnel all the way to the spring. Finally gets there, you know what he finds? Spring's frozen over. Luckily, he found the bucket, used it like a hammer, smashed open the ice, filled up the bucket, headed back down his tunnel, gets to the tower, calls up, the old man sends down a spring. Little Jackie ties the bucket to the spring, the man pulls it up, says, thank you, and shuts the shutters. So Jack starts picking up firewood. He picks them up, finds himself a nice little pile, gets it all piled up, and he thinks, I gotta bundle this into a bundle to carry. This is too big of a pile for me. And he reaches down to untie his belt. He's got one of those belts made out of rope, right? He's gonna untie his belt when all of a sudden he gets that feeling. You might have had this feeling before. Feeling like somebody's looking at you. And Jackie's got this feeling bad. So he stops and he turns around and the tower was gone. But where it used to be was that little old man with the eyes as big as your fist, and he's wearing a robe, a fancy robe with gold embroidery, pictures of animals and plants, and he's wearing a crown, and the crown's got knots and it's got leaves, and it's the king of the forest, the king of the elves. And he's looking down at Jack. He says, Jack, mighty nice of you to help me out, Jack. You are my hero. You know, some witch says to me, marry me. And when I said no, she sticks me in this tower. I can't get out till somebody does me a good turn. And Jack, that somebody was you. Jack, I want to give you a present. Jack says, oh, that's okay, Your Majesty. I'm fine. Jack, I said I want to give you a present. I'm the king. If I say I want to give you a present, I'm giving you a present. Jack said, okay. And the king, he reaches on his hand, he pulls off a ring. He says, Jack, you take this ring. This is a really special ring, Jack. Don't lose this ring, Jack. You're going to need it. So Jack, he puts that ring in his pocket. He turns, he looks up, he's going to say thank you, but the king is gone. So Jack turns around, he goes to reach for his belt, and suddenly, the belt comes right off his pants. It wraps around that bundle of sticks all by itself, ties them up really tight. Then the whole bundle picks itself up, lands on Jack's shoulder. It's as light as a feather, and he carries it home so his mom can make some scones. But that is not the story I'm telling you tonight. No, because